Good afternoon, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Jay Wagner. If you're listening online, I'm calling our regular meeting for April 18th to order. Let me just tell everybody what we're going to do before we get started. We have one remaining, we had a closed session immediately prior to this meeting. We have one remaining item to deal with in that closed session. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and have our moment of silence and start our meeting and have our Pledge of Allegiance. I have a resolution to read, and then we're going to do the public comment part of the meeting, okay? And then after public comment, we're going to break back into our closed session just for a little while and try to finish that item up, and then we're going to come back in and resume the meeting with our Finance Committee items. So I'm giving you a preview of what's coming. So all of you who are here, eventually you're going to have to vacate for a little while and come back. So I wish we had cookies and reception items outside for you, but we don't. But we'll try to get that last closed session item done pretty quickly so we can bring you all back in and resume the meeting. Just giving you a heads up. So with that, let's go ahead and begin our meeting. I'll ask everyone, before we do that, I need to let everybody listening online know who is here. All members are currently present except for Councilman Jones and Councilman Williams. I do not expect Councilman Williams tonight, but I haven't heard from Councilman Jones as to whether he's right.
He said he would get here.
He's here. He's coming. Okay. So Councilman Williams will not be with us tonight. With that, everybody, please rise for a moment of silent prayer, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I do have one proclamation to read. It is regarding Child Abuse Prevention Month, so if you would bear with me, I'd appreciate it. Whereas our community's children are the City of High Point's greatest asset, and their well-being is vital to our current and future success, prosperity, and quality of life. All children deserve to have a safe, stable, nurturing, and healthy home and community that fosters their well-being. Whereas many agencies throughout High Point work together to positively impact the lives of children and families, including but not limited to the Kellen Foundation, the Resilient Guilford Network, the Guilford County Trauma Provider Network, Resilience High Point, the Guilford County Family Justice Center High Point, Guilford County's Department of Health and Human Services, who work to strengthen resilience in children and families impacted by violence through a coordinated community response team of victim advocates, law enforcement, healthcare professionals, local trauma treatment providers, and human service agencies to address the needs of children exposed to violence and trauma. Whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among residents, human service agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And whereas the City of High Point supports the efforts of national, state, and local partners, and asks every citizen to actively engage in public and private efforts to prevent child abuse. High Point is committed to starting conversations, taking appropriate actions, and supporting one another to create a safe, stable, and nurturing community for all. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is evidence that we can be successful in preventing child abuse in High Point through increased education, awareness, and community involvement. Now therefore, I, J.W. Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to raise the awareness and increase their participation in our efforts to support families, prevent child abuse, and strengthen the community. So my understanding is that there's no one present to receive this tonight. We'll make sure it gets done. All right. So, next on the list is public comment period. I have a sign-up sheet here that was placed on the table. Folks who wish to speak during the public comment period signed. If you didn't get a chance to sign, there will still be an opportunity for you to come forward and speak during public comment. If you are here to speak on one of the items on the planning agenda that's a public hearing later, you don't need to speak during public comment. There'll be a time for you to speak during the actual public hearing for that item. If you want to come speak during the public hearing, or during the public comment period, please come forward to the lectern, give us your name and address for our record, and we allocate 3 minutes per person to speak on whatever topic you would like. And we ask that you try to stick to that 3 minutes out of respect for other folks who also want to speak. So with that, the first person on the list is Billy Queen.
Is this still going to work?
Yes, it will.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council, for having us and allowing us to speak before you tonight. And the people, I'm assuming that most of you are from High Point. I am Billy Queen, and I'm running for sheriff of Guilford County, and that's the reason I'm here. I want everyone to know who they're voting for, the content of their character of that person. That's things that you should know when you consider who you're going to vote for sheriff of Guilford County. I'm from Guilford County. I grew up here. I started my law enforcement career right here in High Point as a police officer for the city of High Point. I advanced to the rank of sergeant. I enrolled in Guilford College, where I obtained an undergraduate degree in criminal justice. I moved on from here, joined the United States Border Patrol. And they sent me to the southern border out in California, where I chased, and I'm going to say it, illegal aliens for 2 years. I went from there to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, United States Justice Department, and was assigned to Los Angeles, California, where I worked for the next 20-plus years. When I retired, I came back here. I couldn't wait to get home, so here I am. But I also couldn't sit back and just watch what was happening to my country, to my community out here without stepping up and doing something about it. And since I've only been a sergeant, a soldier, or a police officer in one form or another all my life, this is what I can do. So I am stepping up and running to be your sheriff here in Guilford County, North Carolina. I want to say this. My experience didn't end at the borders of Guilford County, but at the borders of the United States of America. I've worked from one end of the United States to the other. I've seen what worked out there, and I've seen what didn't work out there. I'm going to bring my experience, my education, my training back here to Guilford County and make this sheriff's department a sheriff's department you can be proud of, one that we take to the next level, one where entities outside of Guilford County will look to us for the way that it should be done. I want to thank you very much. I ask for your vote. I'm Billy Queen. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you guys so much.
Mr. Green. Next on the list is, actually we have 2 people signed in the same box. So I'll let you come forward. Joseph Jackson and Greg Black.
How y'all doing? My name is Joseph Jackson. This is Greg Black. Thank y'all for having us. On behalf of Team Jackson Boxing and Black's Boxing Academy, we opened up a boxing gym on Eastchester. A little about myself: I'm a professional boxer, currently 17-0, ranked 30 in the world. I just fought on Showtime last year. You know what I'm saying? So we're just trying to get back to the community and target the kids, get them out the streets. And, you know what I'm saying? We got a building up there on Eastchester, 1190 Eastchester. So we're just trying to target and give back to the community the best way we can.
How long have you been out there?
We just got there 2 weeks ago.
sanction in High Point. I'm looking to put a bid in for the national or the Olympic qualifiers to come to High Point. The insurance, and that'll be the qualifiers in the USA or essentially the world in High Point for 7 days. Revenue to the city outside of just looking theater. Once we look for the theater community, so just working with the city in general. And that's just what we are. Thank you. Not really asking for anything, we just let you know that we're here.
Yeah.
What was this bid number again?
1190.
Chris been ready to fight somebody for a while, so. Not you.
But we appreciate y'all having us and listening to us. You know.
That's good.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
We need to make sure we get these guys connected with Visit High Point.
Yeah,
For their idea, because they can help you coordinate, activities and, events.
yeah, absolutely. Welcome.
Yep. Glad you're here.
Those guys are in my ward, so I'll be reaching out to you.
Okay, Jessica Wynn. Now, Abigail Lind and Kristen Moore, y'all all signed up to talk about the same thing. Y'all all want to come up at the same time, or you want to?
Whatever's easier for y'all.
I just want to make it easier on you. Whatever you want to do. If there's safety in numbers, all three of you come up. All right.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council and city staff and other city stakeholders. I'm Jessica Wynn, High Point resident, and with me I have.
I am Kristen Moore. I'm not a High Point resident, but I work here in downtown High Point.
And I am Abigail Lind, a past, present, and future resident of High Point.
All three of us today are representing the High Point Young Professionals Group through the Chamber of Commerce. And with the budget initiatives for the next fiscal year underway, we just wanted to come and talk about the city's walkability and kind of what that means to us as young professionals. At the tail end of COVID, we're kind of coming back in a strong way, planning our own events and initiatives and things like that. We strongly are behind all of the downtown initiatives that City Council is currently working on, and we want to support that 100% with our own events and initiatives and things of that nature. So while those budget conversations are underway, we just wanted to, which I know you all are very aware of, remind you all of the importance of walkability and other capital improvements needed in the downtown area to really reinforce all of the hard work that has been put into downtown events so far. I don't know if my teammates have anything else to add.
Yeah, so we are all actively involved in the business community and with young professionals in multiple organizations with Business High Point. I'm also the president of the High Point JCs, and we're really growing there as well and really want to get involved civically and with the community as much as possible. And in order to do that, to make the city more walkable and safe between different areas that are really growing is really exciting, and we want to see that happen so that we can grow our community, grow our neighborhoods, grow everything in High Point. I grew up here, and I have seen the changes for myself, and I'm excited to be involved in those, as well as work towards making that better for us as young professionals and for the future of everyone else who comes and into our town as we grow. Thank you.
As someone who has moved to High Point from Ohio, when I got here 4 years ago now, I was very surprised to see just the city based on the population and how the walkability wasn't there. When I look at the 116,000 people, I would have assumed that it would be a more walkable city. And now that I'm involved, like Abigail said, with the High Point Young Professionals, and I'm her vice president with the High Point JCs, and we're planning a lot of events downtown, and a lot of just, we're so excited about the downtown renovation and the food hall. It would just be great to make it more walkable for our generation to get out there and create more revenue in High Point.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of the folks who signed up. Is there anyone else present who would like to speak during the public comment period? Yes, sir. If you'd come forward and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. my first time, so I'm nervous about this.
Don't be.
I'm from New Jersey. I was previously incarcerated for the past 14 years.
Can you give us your name?
My name is Kevin Andrews, pardon me. I've been incarcerated for 14 years. I'm coming up on a year being home. In prison, I came up with a workshop named MAD, acronym for Making a Difference, and it merged with a program for mid-state prison. With my efforts of making a difference in the prison system, it touched my heart to not just make a difference there, to come home to want to make a difference. So with this skill set I've been blessed with, I do home improvement work. MAD's turned into making a difference in home improvements. And I have a vision of when people get out of prison, before they get driven in the wrong direction, they could have opportunity of learning a skill. And it could become a part of a work team. And I have a vision of creating a dynamic team. I'm involved with certain realtors and investors, and we're seeing these properties in High Point that are empty, vacant houses and buildings that are vacant. I believe this could be attention to them to not be vacant, and with the people that have the means to not make them vacant but need the manpower of someone to do the labor work. I could manage all that, and I have other contractors that are willing to be a part of this dream with me. And I see the creating single most livable and safe communities. I have such a passion on doing for the good, because I've been on the wrong side for so many years. So now I want to give back. I want to do what's right for life, and just want to make a difference. And I'm hoping that everyone in here could be a part of that, making a difference. It may be. Thank y'all for all listening.
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, then I'm going to close the public comment period. And we are going to go back into our closed session now. So except for those who need to stay for it, I need everyone to please vacate the room, and we'll call you back in as quickly as we can. live, I think. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the special meeting. Regular meeting. We finished that item up. We're trying to be wary of taxpayers' money, and we didn't want to pay our outside attorney to sit and listen. Right, Mr. Terrell? Not money well spent to pay an attorney to sit and listen. So we got that done and hopefully saved y'all a little money. So we're now back to our regular meeting agenda, and next is our Finance Committee items, and I will turn the meeting over to Councilman Britt Moore to handle that part of our agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Wagner. Council, if you'll see that was contained in your packet, Finance Committee did meet with staff, and the items are in two parts tonight. You have, which is not abnormal for us, you have a consent agenda with several items in it, and if there are no questions or comments on those items, I'll make a motion that the consent agenda be approved.
There's a motion and a second to approve the Finance Committee consent items. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Under our regular agenda item for tonight, item 2022-160 concerns a reuse grant for 131 Greensboro Road. There, Ms. Sandy Dunbeck's going to share with us.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, manager and staff, members of the audience. We are asking High Point City Council to consider approving a resolution of support for Dedicated Medical Center, who's proposed to receive a $300,000 building reuse grant from the state of North Carolina. They have leased 131 Greensboro Road with plans to locate a primary medical care center servicing senior citizen patients with Medicare Advantage insurance. In doing so, the company plans to invest $1.7 million in upfits and create 30 jobs within the first 2 years with an average annual salary of $90,339. We do recommend that resolution of support. Those grants will be decided upon and announced this week, we believe, on the 21st. So, great project out in East High Point.
Thank you, Sandy. Does anyone have questions or comments on this? Just a point of note, this doesn't impact our budget, and this is the reuse resolution. So I will make a motion that we approve item 2022-160.
Second. There's a motion and a second for approval of this item. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Sandy. Next item, 2022-161, is an issuance of some GEO refunding bonds. And Bobby Fitz, John, will be back to share with us on this again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Last month, City Council approved the issuance of the 2022 C General Obligation Refunding Bonds. However, that was approved for a public sale. The market has moved against us between that point and when we're actually scheduled to sell tomorrow, actually, for the new money. So we are proposing a private placement with Pinnacle Bank. This will still ensure savings of nearly $200,000 over the next 10 years, and it's refundable penalty-free over that term. So if interest rate environment changes to be more favorable, we can still refund it again. So this will take the place essentially of the last resolution that you all approved.
Thank you. Any questions for Bobby? Okay. Well, at this time, I will introduce and adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of High Point, North Carolina, authorizing the issuance of a general obligation refunding bond series 2022C with a favorable motion for approval.
Motion and second for approval of this item. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Computer back open. That's all for finance, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Moore. Next, we'll go to the Prosperity and Livability Committee items. And for those, I will turn the meeting over to Councilmember Hudson, who's Chair Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one item for you tonight, and it looks like a very small item. But I will tell you, this is many months and many hours in the planning. And Andy Piper is here tonight. I'd like to personally thank him. He's the one that I've been working with on staff to develop this plan. This will establish a permanent long-term tree plan for the city of High Point. And you have the addendum in your packet, but I'll go over it briefly just to highlight. First item we would like to do is make High Point a net positive tree city, which means that on all city-owned property, if we lose a tree, we replace a tree. So that by the end of every year, we have one more tree than we started that year with. We also would like to establish a way to design and maintain our landscaping and trees, specifically in the downtown area. And also establish a plan to create an inventory of trees that we can pick from. I just ordered 100 seeds for a tree. Cost me $18. Those trees in 5 years will cost $7,500. Well, obviously, if we can find a way to establish and create a long-term nursery, it's going to fiscally benefit the city. And we'd also like to establish a program to give, to offer free trees to citizens of the city. I don't have to go very long about the benefits of trees. There have been books written about this, but the last item, we would like to ask for $25,000 to be a line item in our budget to help establish this program and ensure the success of it. So with that, I will make a motion to approve 2022-163, our long-term tree plan.
There's a motion and a second for approval of this item. Is there any discussion?
I believe it came to this board under consent.
It's a consent agenda item, yes.
You want to remove it and vote on, you don't have to vote on it.
There's a motion for approval. So we'll go with that. Unless he wants to withdraw
More
his
official
motion.
that way, yeah, I would love to vote on it.
You don't have to break it down like he just broke
Right.
it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's just edification.
So on the free tree to the citizen, is that going to be is that still I'm assuming that's still under development on how you're going to
Absolutely.
do that?
Absolutely, and there are nonprofits in the city that are interested in using that as training programs, that they do to establish farming and agriculture economics in the city.
I didn't know if you were just going to give them one of those seeds or if you were going to give them a 7-year-old.
Well, I actually have about 300 trees in my backyard, but that's the plan, but I'm passing them on eventually. But yes, it's already been started.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approval of this item, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? There's no opposition, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all very much. That's all we have.
Well, Councilman Hudson, due to the
Pass
absence
the ball back to me then?
of Councilman Williams, we're going to pass you back the Community Development Committee items, so I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
All right, our first item is 2022-164, ordinance to demolish 524 Roy Avenue, and Lori Loosemore is coming to the podium for us.
On 524, good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. On 524 Roy, I'm going to ask that you place this in pending until the first meeting in May. There's a potential buyer for this property. I was just made aware of this afternoon about 4:30. So I just need time to meet with them tomorrow at 1 to find out what their plans for the property and if it will work with what the city's wanting to have done as far as repairing it.
Make a motion to put 2022-164 in pending.
Motion and a second on that item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of placing this item in pending, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes.
Our next item is 2022-165, ordinance of demolition of dwelling for 1402 Reagan Avenue.
This property at 1402 Reagan, we originally inspected in July 30th of 2018. We held a hearing in November 14th, 2021. We did have a problem locating, it was a business name and a person's name, but we did finally get a good address for him. So we held the hearing on 9/14/2021. No one appeared for the hearing. We issued an order to repair or demolish with a compliance date of February 25th, 2022. We've not heard from anyone about this property. There were delinquent taxes that they since have been paid, but as far as I know, it's still the same owner. None of that has changed, so I'm not sure who paid the taxes.
Anyone have any questions about this property? If not, I'll make a motion to demolish 1402 Reagan Avenue.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the ordinance, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes.
Our next ordinance is 2022-166, demolition of 1227 Greensboro Road.
This property we originally inspected on July 14th of 2020. We held a hearing on January 12th of 2021 that no one appeared for. We issued an order to repair or demolish on January 13th, 2021 with a compliance date of February 17th of 2021. The current owners purchased this property on July 14th of 2021, and we did have a list pendants recorded on December 30th, 2020. In November of 2021, the inspector spoke to a representative with the company Joseph with company who stated they may sell the property, they may have plans with an architect to renovate the property. And in December of 2021, they spoke to Mr. Heffitz again and advised the city, we need to know their plans for the property. January 28th, we reached out and left a voicemail asking for an update of the property. February 22nd, 2022, the company, Mr. Heffitz, stated they plan to demolish the property. March 29th, again, the inspector reached out and they stated they plan to demolish and then asked for a list of contractors. So as of April 7th, no one had applied for any demolition permits or anything like that, so I'm bringing it on the off chance that they're still continuing to try and put it off, that we'll be able to get it demolished.
Thank you. Any questions?
Rode by this one a couple weeks ago and was wondering when we were going to start.
We tried to work with them, that's what we try to do.
Yep.
If there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-166, demolition of 1227 Greensboro Road.
There's a second. There's a second. Motion and a second for approval of the ordinance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
All we have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are planning development items. I'll be handling that. The first one is item 2022-167. This is a resolution of intent for annexation case 2022-02. It has numerous parcels on it, and so I'm not going to list all of those, but I will make a motion for approval of that resolution of intent. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Next is item 2022-168. This is a right-of-way encroachment requested by Peters Development.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor and Council. My name is Sam Hennett, Senior Planner, Planning and Development Department. As the mayor has introduced, this is a right-of-way encroachment on North Ren Street. That's for the Peters Development, 650 North Main. The property you can see here is at the intersection of Westwood Avenue, North Main Street, and North Ren Street. The specific site of the encroachment is shown in T. This is the site pre-development. It's the back of the old doghouse building. The specific area of encroachment is in a small portion of the red clouded area. That is for two understory trees, 24 shrubs, 2 fountain grasses, and variegated liriope, in addition to 2 parking lots. TRC has reviewed this request and is recommending the approval.
Any questions for staff?
No, if you see that.
Any questions? Thank you. I'm going to make a motion then for approval of the ordinance, or the right-of-way encroachment agreement, what we're doing here. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval of this item, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Next is the recurring Cavelli Enterprise zoning map amendment 21-31. Mr. Shannon.
Yes, I don't know if the applicant has a representative here. I did receive an email Friday regarding
She's in
the
the back.
site for the Panera Bread case, and they have requested an additional continuance. I noted that they would have a representative to specifically address that, and to, if there are any questions of council, to make sure they have someone here to address council. But they are again requesting an additional continuance, and I will let their representative. You're not? Yeah, so you're not requesting another continuance? Oh, okay. So, okay.
Hallelujah.
So, I just want to make sure, because I got 3 or 4 emails from them, so, okay. Okay, my mistake, I'm sorry. Well, if you have all the signatures ready, it's ready for council to make a determination. Just a quick summary. They're requesting to revise the zoning from a former conditional use general business to conditional zoning to allow a major restaurant use of the site. The staff is recommending approval, and planning and zoning is recommending approval with the findings, including the staff report.
So everybody's happy? Well, amen to that. Well, with that, then, I will make a motion for approval of zoning map amendment 21-31, and I'll adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement as stated in the staff report. Is there a second?
I trust you, but I'm just saying, before we go sign off on this, Tom's not here.
Yeah.
Well,
And I would just note, that is a private agreement that is separate from the zoning ordinance for that site.
Yeah.
So that is agreement between those 2 property owners. The city is not involved in that in any way.
Yeah, I don't know that we can necessarily demand that.
Right, but Mr. Shannon's response when he started was that the email from the gentleman said that you thought it was a continuance, and she's saying it wasn't a continuance.
I must have misread it. I apologize.
Who'd the email come from? It came from her?
licensed attorney, right? No. Okay. I was,
Plays one on TV.
place. Well, there's a motion and a second for approval. Is there any discussion?
I don't know if I feel real comfortable about it
Well,
because,
we don't have any legal culpability.
Okay.
We're addressing the zoning, we're not addressing the agreement.
isn't the zoning contingent on the agreement?
It wasn't contingent on their agreement, but my hiccup is that Mr. Shannon said he got an email, not from this party, but from a different party saying it was a continuance. This party saying that email doesn't say that. Can Mr. Shannon pull up the email first to verify exactly what that email says? That's what I think I'd love to see. Not trying to put you on the spot, Mr. Shannon, but I hope everyone can trust what I'm saying is you have this party who sent it to you, and you thought it said continuance, but this party over here says it did not say continuance. And it's, I mean, I remember the conversation, there were two different parties. One party didn't want us to go forward with this until everything was signed. One party wanted to go forward if it wasn't signed. And the party, I mean, hopefully everyone who was a part of the conversation can understand where we're coming from.
I cannot open the email now. I have to go back to my office and restart my computer and bring it back up. If she has it, she wants to come up and read into the record, so we have you on mic.
Herb says, and this is from Kim Phillips, who is the architect. He said, I know I'm becoming your worst nightmare. I had asked for a continuance the other day to avoid raising the anger of council over another no-show of the information. Apparently, Mr. Mincher has been working closely with someone. And then it goes on to say, if it's not too late, can we remain on the agenda for Mr. Mincher to submit same? We have just gotten caught in the crisscrossing of information at the last moment. It would be great if we can put this behind us at Tuesday's meeting. I look forward to your thoughts. And then you had responded that somebody from, as with the previous request, someone from your team will need to be there. And so that's when I knew that you had misread it. But if you go further down, because it's a whole chain, it says in here, let me find the one, find you something, I guess, if it would make you comfortable, from Tom. So from us to Tom, it says, there is no holdup. We're not sure as of later this morning. That said, see immediately below the highlighted from Mr. Murphy. Please confirm that you have no problem with your legal counsel filing this. And so then we would request it. I mean, it's signed, they have the originals. My understanding is that's why Tom wasn't here tonight, because he wasn't objecting to it anymore.
Sure. I hope everyone trusts where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I totally.
Shannon walked up and said he thought he had an email from one party saying continuance. The other party says the email does not say that. No one on our end could verify that. They're one party who wanted the continuance this whole time.
Right.
They're still saying we're good, we don't need a continuance, or we do want the continuance. But we have the other party saying that it said that, and we're going off that party's word.
Right.
So it's not that we don't
I
trust you,
understand your
it's just saying
discomfort, but also, Tom and his attorney have been here every time because of the objection, and they're not here tonight because, like I said, we had an agreement. Like, I mean, we've always had the agreement, but it's just finally signed by, the landlords and Andes and everybody else.
Mr. Andrews, were you about to say something?
Yeah, it may help to clarify what when that date was. At least the last correspondence that I was forwarded from her was on April 12th, where Kim Phillips did say that they were going to gracefully ask the council.
This was Thursday, April 14th at 2:48.
I don't have anything past this on the 12th, so.
And then You responded on April 16th at 2:50. Yes, that somebody needed to be here. So,
Well, I got caught up in holiday traffic. Or then.
So, I think what my cause for concern is that Mr. Shannon and Mr. Andrews were not clear that the one who wanted the continuance is absolutely not wanting that continuance right now. I mean, unless you are saying you feel confident that that one does not want the continuance anymore.
we had asked for the continuance, not Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom said that he didn't want to move forward without the agreements being signed.
Right.
Because he was nervous about the issue with traffic and whatnot, and some of those restrictions. And I recall on that evening that you all said your landlord was not going to sign or didn't have an incentive to sign.
They did.
And you wanted the agreement to move forward on that night.
Right.
Which I assume you still want the agreement to move forward as soon as possible, which is why I have to take the position that says the one who wanted us to do a continuance until that was signed. The last our staff thought was that that gentleman still wanted a continuance, but your word says that that gentleman does not want a continuance. And so I'm asking our staff if they feel that that gentleman does not want the continuance anymore, then because that was my heartburn on that night.
Yes, because on that night, we had no signatures because we weren't even able to get a hold of our landlord. Like, our landlord was AWOL. So they finally got a hold of the landlord. I don't know what magic happened there. We signed, Tom signed. Yeah. And then we were just waiting on Greg to get back into town to sign for Andy's, and which he did, I think Friday.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Anything else before we vote? Okay. All those in favor of approval of this item, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. All right, so now we'll go to our public hearing items. First one is zoning map amendment case 2022-02. This is a request by Jennifer McCannon to rezone 1.3 acres on Harvey Road. For that, I'll turn the Mr. Shannon.
Yes, as you've outlined, it's a request for rezoning 1.3 acres on Harvey Road. This site is within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction, also known as the ETJ area. And as we've noted when this come up in the past, this is lands that are adjacent to the city limits where the county has granted the city zoning and building permit authority. And this ETJ was established in 1970, starting at Scientific Street eastward to Business 85. Most of that area has been annexed. The applicant is requesting rezoning for this site. It currently has a conditional use general business district that was established in 1978 as part of a larger area that was rezoned, and that was to support a record store that had an accessory coin-operated music vending machine business. That use has not been in operation for several decades, and the existing single-family dwellings on the site are considered non-conforming uses. The applicant is considering a pending sale of one of the homes in the future. Thus, they requested rezoning to remove that old commercial zoning and establish a R5 residential single-family 5 district to bring the site into conformance. The land use plan designates this area for moderate density residential, and this has been a long-standing island of commercial surrounded by residential uses. This rezoning will bring the site into conformance with the land use plan and the surrounding development pattern. Thus, staff is recommending approval of this request. This item was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their March public hearing, and the commission recommended approval with the consistency and reasonableness statement included in your staff report. That is a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Everybody good? Any questions? Thank you. Public hearing is open. Is there anyone here to speak on this item, either for or against? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Make a motion to approve this item, and I will adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement as stated in the staff report. Motion and second for approval of this item. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion is adopted unanimously. Next item on the agenda is, I'm sure we're going to have both the text amendment 2022-02 and the accompanying zoning map amendment 22-05, Boys and Girls Club of Greater High Point.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Chris Andrews of the Planning Department will hear both of these items together. Herb will follow up with the zoning map amendment. This text amendment is an application from the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater High Point. The applicant desires to amend the development ordinance to allow what are called major assembly uses. These are your clubs, lodges, that sort of thing, within additional zoning districts within the city, and only within existing buildings and within the core city area. The applicant proposes a major assembly use to be able to reuse the buildings of a former religious institution. The residential single-family, which is R5 district, as well as the residential multifamily district, RM16, those both permit religious institutions, but not major assembly uses, which are assembly uses greater than 15,000 square feet. So this subject site in the next item, it straddles two different zoning districts. The applicant has also proposed an exemption to specific use standards for the reuse of buildings within the core city, but only within higher intensity multifamily districts. As a result of the applicant's request, staff also recommended adding some lower intensity business districts where the minor and major assembly uses would be permitted. The development ordinance currently permits the reuse of buildings for minor and major assembly uses within our light industrial districts within the city, again subject to use standards. Overall, the proposed amendment is narrow in its focus in requesting that major assembly uses be permitted within existing buildings only in the core city. And as previously stated, we do allow reuse of buildings in some other districts with use standards. And the standards and amendments to permitted uses within this district helps to ensure that assembly uses will continue to be in higher intensity residential and business zoning districts while allowing the reuse of existing buildings. And in many cases, these existing buildings may be desirable for reuse as they were previously religious institutions or schools, and it would be expected that they'd have the same type of traffic and usage. So in short, this amendment is going to allow existing buildings to be used in a very similar way, just not religious institutions. There were statements of consistency and reasonableness that are included within the staff report for your consideration. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this item at their March 22nd meeting, recommending approval of the text amendment by a vote of 5-0. Staff recommends approval of the request as well. And if there are any questions regarding the text amendment, I'm happy to take them before Herb presents the zoning amendment.
Any questions from anybody about the text?
As to the zoning that is considered for this site, the applicant is requesting rezoning approximately 1.9 acres located approximately 500 feet west of the intersection of West English Road and Barker Road to support this major assembly use. This is the zoning map for the site. The area highlighted in teal is the site in question. As you can see, the site straddles between the residential multifamily 16, which is a multifamily zoning district, and the R5, which is a single-family district. The applicant's requesting rezoning to a conditional zoning residential multifamily 16 district. They have included a conditional zoning ordinance in which they've offered a condition to prohibit multifamily uses on the site. Key findings that staff would like to touch upon. First, the zoning request does not introduce any higher intensity development in this area. The zoning site is in an area where multifamily is already existing and allowed. But more importantly, they're proposing reuse of an existing religious institution. It's about a 25,000 square foot facility there. And there are already accessory lots that have parking and recreation facilities. They're proposing to convert the existing church into a Boys and Girls Club. and the reuse of the current facility to another community-oriented use would be compatible with the area. As far as mitigating any impacts, all the improvements that are required are on site. The applicant can explain what upgrades may do to the facility, but the existing sanctuary would be converted to a gym or a large meeting area. There's already a separate educational wing associated with the church that has classroom and offices that will be reused. There are already parking lots that are established and an outdoor recreational court. So any renovations will be more internal or cosmetic, not necessarily redevelopment of the exterior land areas. A key item to note is with our core city plan, there were specific neighborhoods that were identified in policies. This site's within the west end section of the core city plan, and that specific section had policies that encourage neighborhood meeting places and social events to help solidify a stronger neighborhood. This proposal to reuse this institutional use promotes the policy of the core city plan, and staff is recommending approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their March public hearing and recommended approval, and they include a consistency and reasonableness statement in the staff report for your consideration. Are there any questions regarding the text amendment or this rezoning application of staff?
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Okay. Public hearing is open. I'll hear from the applicant. I see Mr. Terrell already on the way.
Thank you, Mayor Wagner. Tom Terrell with the law firm Fox Rothschild, 529 West Parkway Avenue. Now, I'm really pleased to be able to be here on behalf of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater High Point. As a distinguished group of gentlemen who are sitting with me tonight, Mr. Floyd Johnson that does the day-to-day operations of the Boys and Girls Clubs, make sure that the organization runs very, very smoothly, does an outstanding job. Warren Preston, Bradley Gibson, and Tom Schaaf are the board members here who on a day-to-day basis do a lot more than people know to make sure that this organization runs very, very well. Now, a couple of very short comments on the text amendment. We come up against these roadblocks all the time when we have an ordinance that is drafted in the abstract, but it creates hurdles and roadblocks, and then we find something that makes infinite sense that we really want to do. So what we have to do is go back and just change the ordinance, and that's what we have done, and the staff has worked with us very, very closely. As Chris says, it's a very, very small, carefully tailored text amendment for this, and it will do a lot to help stabilize neighborhoods, to enable churches like Rankin Memorial to be transitioned to other uses where it makes sense. Right here, I do call out that this is an institution that has been in this neighborhood for decades, Rankin Memorial, and all we're doing is replacing it with something that not only is appropriate, but very, very similar. And this neighborhood, I'm going to go straight on to the map. This says everything. It is the entire narrative in a color code. But you see that this site is surrounded by commercial. It's got industrial almost next to it, the big institutional Green Street Baptist Church, and then the city's soccer fields. So this is an area with a lot of different uses, and allowing this church to be transitioned will help this neighborhood be stable, but it also is something that makes sense. I would like to, at this point, turn it over to some gentlemen who are on the board to speak on this behalf.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Staff. I'm Warren Preston. I'm a very long-term board member for Boys and Girls Clubs in Greater High Point. And I just wanted to share my enthusiasm about this. For a long time, we have had a goal to have our flagship facility in High Point that we own. We don't typically own property. We use facilities owned by churches and schools and the city. Within the last 3 years or so, this Rankin Memorial property came to our attention, and it is just perfect for what we want to do. It's a big piece of property, nearly a city block, 25,000 square feet of space that we can easily convert for our purposes, those purposes being admin space, club space, recreation space. Lots of green space there, plenty of room for playgrounds, existing basketball courts, plenty of parking. It's perfect for us. It's perfect for the kids that we serve. It's perfect for this community because it is in the right place to do what it needs to do in our eyes and in the city's eyes. We're going to create we've bought it. We're going to create a shining star in that struggling neighborhood, and we're going to watch that enthusiasm grow through that part of town. Thank you for your consideration.
Good evening, and my name's Tom Schaaf, and I think you said to list our address, so it's 157 White Oak Road. I'm a member of Forest Hills Presbyterian Church, and at our church we had unused educational space on our church property, and I was on the board there, and we tried for several years to vet projects to use the space at our own church. And for a couple years we housed and cooked for homeless families so the family could all stay together, so that the males and females didn't have to be separated as part of the Guilford County Interfaith Hospitality Network, which some of you may be aware of. We even considered duplicating a mission destination site where people would come to High Point and stay at our church, and the kids would go into the neighborhoods, youth, and do mission projects here versus us taking our own kids to Washington, D.C. or Duck, North Carolina, wherever we go. And so we looked at that for our church. Finally, we attracted a Boys and Girls Club, and they use our space. We have children that are bused to the church I attend 5 days a week. The Boy Scouts cut a path through the woods, and chaperoned children come up from Northwood Elementary every day, up through the woods, through the paths that the Boy Scouts cut to our church. And you go over there now, and there's children playing, and it's what we have vision for this church, okay? So as a result, I joined the board of the Boys and Girls Club of Greater High Point, and as you know, you're all on the city council. If you show some initiative, next thing you know, you're the chair. Right, gentlemen? So anyway, my story is up to every day about 50 children cut up through the woods and use my church when we had these education buildings that were just sitting idle, and it makes my heart warm. And we can serve hundreds of children at this Rankin Memorial site if you all approve this zoning request. And so I'm respectfully asking that you approve the request for this zoning change, and we'll inject, I promise you, a very positive result into the community and the Rankin neighborhood. And we look forward to doing that if you approve this. Thank you.
Anyone else to present, Mr. Terrell? Okay. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Okay. With that, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll make a motion to approve this item, and I will adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement as stated in the staff report. There's a second.
Are we voting on both at one time?
Yeah, we're gonna do both.
Okay.
Both. I'll get there. So I'm just gonna flip the script to keep y'all guessing.
Yeah.
So, this is the zoning amendment, and we'll go back to the text amendment. I will say that do you want me to definitely do the text
The
amendment
text amendment would have to go first to enable the zoning amendment to.
Okay, then I'll withdraw my motion. All right, I'll make a motion for approval of the text amendment 22-02. Is there a second?
Second, thank you.
Okay, any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. And now I'll make a motion to approve zoning map amendment 22-05 and adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement as stated in the staff report. And there is a second. And before we vote, I'll say I did get to go out and walk around the property of Mr. Johnson and my new puppy at the time. And she didn't pee in the church or anything, which is nice. She was pretty young at the time, but it's a great vision y'all have for this building, and I can tell walking around it, you can see in your mind's eye what can happen with it. And I really appreciate your vision for that site, and being able to take a church property like Rankin Memorial that was already well established in a residential area and in an area of town with kids that you're going to be able to serve and who can walk there. It's going to be great. I think it's a unique opportunity, and I'm glad y'all seized that opportunity. Any other discussion? Yes.
I'd like to make a comment. And I talked to Mr. Johnson also. Megan Oldwood called me and said that y'all were looking at purchasing it and just were, concerned about the zoning. And it is in my ward, but I'd never been there, but I did drive out there. And it's the perfect location because it serves the community that walks to the schools, to Ferndale and Central that's just right there. And I'm just so happy and honored that y'all have found a home, and I just wish you lots of success and that it prospers.
Any other comments? With that, all in favor of approval of the zoning map amendment, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passed unanimously. All right. Next item is zoning map amendment 22-04. And for that, I'll again recognize Herb Shannon.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a continuation of the City Planning Department's comprehensive zoning map amendment project. For the past several months, we've been focusing on the downtown area, and we have broken up that quadrant at the intersection of South University Parkway and Green Drive and bringing you each quadrant forward just to cut down on the amount of mailing that's going out at one time and not to overload our administrative staff. But this is the last corner in this area for your consideration. As with those other corners, you have a similar situation, this southeast area of the intersection of South University Parkway and East Green Drive. We're looking at, I believe it was 138 acres. The neighborhood was established in the 1920s and platted between the 1920s and 1940s. Developed as a single-family neighborhood. And looking at aerial photos, it's pretty much always been a single-family neighborhood. Staff did a street-by-street survey in 2020, and majority of the uses are single-family, but the zoning is RM16 multifamily, and the land use plan designates that area for lower-density residential. With that area being mostly single-family and to protect the character of that area, staff is recommending rezoning from the RM16 district to the R7 district. As we previously stated, the concern is someone trying to just shoehorn by 2 or 3 lots, shoehorn an apartment complex in the middle of an established neighborhood. Thus, staff is recommending approval for rezoning to the R7 district. And as with the other neighborhoods, that R7 district does allow some diversity in housing types. It's not just single family. It would permit duplexes and townhomes subject to specific development standards. And if someone has a situation where they're on the outer edges and has most of a city block and wants to come in to rezone for multifamily, that's something we can certainly entertain, but just to make sure there's sufficient land area for buffering, parking, and it's something that's not inappropriate in the middle of a neighborhood. Thus, staff is recommending approval to rezone this area from the RM16 district, and there's a small area that's limited business, to the R7 district to more accurately reflect the manner in which this neighborhood has developed. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their March public hearing and recommended approval, and they did include a reasonableness and consistency statement for your consideration. I would note with all of these cases, staff sent out early notices to the neighbors starting last summer and fall to talk with them in advance. We met with the neighborhood organizations and there were no objections. Overall, we had approximately over 150 phone calls. Once staff explained what was going on, all those people who called were in agreement with protecting the single-family character of the neighborhood. That is a brief summary. Are there any questions of staff regarding this specific area?
Thank you, Ms. Shannon.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in favor or against this item? Seeing none, I'll make a motion for approval of this item and state that I'm adopting the consistency and reasonableness statement of staff as found in the staff report. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, I think we are done with the planning and development items. Go to our general business agenda now. We have one item, the first item, is the reappointment of Kim Barker to the Human Relations Commission. I don't know whose appointment this is. Would you like to speak to this?
Yes, sir. Kim Barker, definitely, I've enjoyed my time working with her. She's very enthusiastic, and just always, ever since I've known her, just very enthusiastic about what she's doing, and definitely I think that we're blessed to have her on the Human Relations Commission. So I'd like to make a reappointment for Kimberly Barker.
Motion and a second on that end? Didn't hear who did it. Okay. Councilman Hudson. All right. Maybe my left ear is working better than my right tonight. All right, there's a motion and a second to approve this reappointment. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes.
That makes me feel better, though, Mayor. It makes me think that my public speaking voice is not as bad as I believe it is. Good.
Okay, next item is a reappointment to Planning and Zoning Commission. I don't know whose reappointment this is.
That's mine.
Okay. Councilman Holmes?
Yes, I'd like to, move that, that is, that, reappointed to the zoning commission that's been on my entire tenure in Welcome County. Would, like to in this position, for another term. So, motion to, that is.
There's a motion and a second for this reappointment to the P and Z Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously. I do have one item to add to the, another appointment to add to the agenda. So I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to add, an appointment of, Gail Tuttle to the Housing Authority Board. Is there a second? Second. And there's a motion and a second to suspend the rules to add this item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes. This lady is Gail Tuttle. She is being, the proposal is to appoint her to the Housing Authority Board to fill an unexpired term of Meredith Boger, who has resigned. Ms. Tuttle's appointment will be effective July 1, 2022, and will expire December 22nd, 2026. And I move for the approval of her appointment. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second for approval of the appointment. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimous. All right, Councilman Jefferson, I think you had an item you wanted to speak on before we adjourn. No, we've got minutes. Let's go ahead and do the minutes. Anyone got any corrections to the minutes? Not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. There's a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. Any comments? All those in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? The motion to approve the minutes is approved unanimously. All right, Mr. Jefferson.
Mayor Wagner, thank you. So I want to give a very brief update, and I appreciate the opportunity regarding the Coltrane project. Recall, this is a mission pertaining to the Blair Coltrane house that the city acquired just several years ago. You all know the past 3 years we've been doing some really incredible work as an oversight committee that consists of a number of city staff members, in addition to some community members and volunteers who have been helping out. We've been able to really move the ball down the road in terms of things such as a historical marker going out there, the historical designation that was approved, so now it's officially a historical landmark. Done a number of cleaning up out there, some tours, some marketing around that. And one of the things we have been doing all along over these past few years had been working with our representatives at the state level in the General Assembly to see what kind of support the state could give to the effort. And as a result of some of the work we've done, the city financed an architectural study a couple of years ago, and an architect came in and actually actually did the study, and we ended up learning what sort of work could be done on that house. And from there, we guesstimated that if we had about $250,000, we could do something serious on that house. So one of our partners in this effort has been the High Point Historic Preservation Society. Benjamin Briggs there is the president of that group. That organization's done incredible work across the entire city, preserving all types of landmarks, structures throughout the city. And the state essentially awarded them a $250,000 grant in the recent budget for the Blair Coltrane House. That same organization has now begun the work of re-engaging with the same architect who worked on the study to look at all the plans needed for the house moving forward, as well as some other things there, maybe like a visitor center, bathrooms, things of that nature. They should be having their scope of work proposal approved here soon to actually get the funding. We should actually see probably some work on that house beginning not too long from now. And it's a very exciting vision and future for that. There's all types of excitement for that house. And a number of entities involved who have been great collaborators. We're grateful for all of their work. I know our Deputy City Manager, Greg Ferguson, has been involved in that effort. I don't know if you want to add any other comments to it so far.
We do recognize that there'll need to be some formal agreements between the organizations, and those have not been contemplated yet. The state's going to have to approve the Historical Society's plan in theory, and that could be brought to the city council too at that point in time. So it would be a partnership, and it might be an opportunity for the city to consider a second round of funding if there's appetite for that kind of request too, Rob.
So, yep, I was gonna say, that's the gist of it. Just wanted to shout out, there's been all types of City of High Point staff members, so very much appreciative of the efforts and just volunteerism of everyone involved. It's been a slow but steady sort of pace moving. The pandemic slowed us down like everyone else, but it's been good to see that going and the amount of excitement that folks have for that, the childhood home of John Coltrane.
And I've been on council 10 years, and Britt, you were on it before me. And I know we've been talking about the Coltrane House at least 10 years, at least. So it's great to hear there's some progress. The whole community and the whole city will appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else anybody would like to announce before we adjourn? I'll make one announcement. Wednesday night, High Point University is playing NC State at the Rocker Stadium in baseball. So if you don't have anything to do, I think it's supposed to be warm by then.
Mm-hmm.
So come out and see the game. First pitch for the Rockers is this Thursday.
Woo! No one else excited? No one else?
If you get there early enough, you get to see me, hopefully not one hop a pitch into the catcher. They've asked me to throw out the first pitch again. I got to loosen up my shoulder, make sure I don't embarrass myself. And then, of course, on Friday, we're having a big Earth Day thing at the stadium in the new plaza, and there's going to be a whole lot going on, some music, and it's a big deal. So this is a big weekend coming up in High Point. Come downtown and have fun. And Friday night's our Thursday night, the 21st.
Is Edwin McCain at Ziggy's.
Edwin McCain at Ziggy's, and it's the first night of the social
District, right, absolutely.
And Civic Greens will also be in town. Yes, I'm watching.
Civic Green will be in town.
And our lobbyist, Jennifer Emo will be here to see all these wonderful things that.
Yeah, our lobbyist is coming to town. We got a lot
going
on coming up. Commissioners are meeting here Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Children's Museum's opening up on the 30th. So before our next council meeting, the Children's Museum will be opened up.
Children's Museum's opening up.
Social districts are starting.
Lots of things we've been working on are going to be happening in the next.
Yeah, well, sorry, there's no overlap between the Children's Museum and the Social District. I said in the same breath. but I didn't
As
mean
much as the parents might want it.
Oh, my God.
Okay, all right. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously, and we are adjourned.